All right, today we're tackling a truly monumental book, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. It was forged in the absolute horror of the Holocaust, and yet it gives us this profound, powerful answer to one of life's biggest questions. How do you find a reason to keep going when you feel like everything is lost?
You know, Frankl himself never really saw his book's incredible success as some kind of personal achievement. For him, it was a symptom of something much bigger. He put it this way, saying, "If so many people are grabbing a book that promises to talk about the meaning of life, then that question, it must be a question that burns under their fingernails." The book's popularity wasn't a good thing. It was a sign of a deep, unspoken crisis.
And he had a name for that crisis, the existential vacuum. Think about it. It's that feeling of just inner emptiness, of being totally adrift. Frankl's point was that, unlike animals, we don't have instincts telling us what we must do. And unlike our ancestors, we don't really have these strong traditions telling us what we ought to do. So what's the result? We're kind of left on our own. And a lot of the time, we don't even know what it is we really want.
And this isn't just some dusty old philosophical idea either. It's incredibly relevant right now. Just look at this study from Johns Hopkins. They asked almost 8,000 students what they thought was very important. Making a lot of money? Only 16% said that. But get this, a whopping 78% said their main goal was finding a purpose and meaning. That just proves Frankl's question is burning brighter than ever.
So where on earth did a philosophy this powerful come from? Well, it wasn't dreamed up in some quiet university library. No, it came from the absolute abyss. It was forged in the fires of Auschwitz.
In the concentration camps, the entire system was designed to do one thing: strip away every single piece of your humanity. Your possessions? Gone. Your clothes? Gone. Even your name was erased, replaced by a number. Frankl went from being a respected doctor to just prisoner 119-104. That was the whole point, to make you feel like nothing.
And from his unique perspective as a psychiatrist, Frankl noticed this harrowing psychological journey every prisoner went on. First, there was admission, just pure, utter shock. Then that shock gave way to a long period of entrenchment, where you basically just became apathetic, an emotional numbness that was, in a strange way, a survival tool. But maybe the weirdest part was the end. For the few who were actually liberated, there wasn't this big burst of joy. It was a feeling of depersonalization, like freedom itself wasn't even real.
Survival was nothing more than a brutal random lottery. And Frankl makes this one observation that is just haunting. He states, very simply, the best of us did not return. He meant that the people who held on to their morals, who refused to become as brutal as their captors, they were often the first to die.
So it was right here, at this absolute rock-bottom point of human existence, when everything, your dignity, your hope, your very life was on the line, that Frankl uncovered a fundamental, unshakable truth about what it means to be human. And here it is. This is the big one, the core idea of the entire book. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Just let that sink in. Even when you have literally zero control over what is happening to you, you always have control over how you respond. That freedom can never be taken away.
And this incredible insight, it wasn't just some nice thought to get him through the day, no. It became the very foundation for a whole new school of psychotherapy he called logotherapy, which is basically a practical framework for finding your why.
So how is this different from, say, the Freudian psychoanalysis we all kind of know? Well, think of it this way. Freud's approach is retrospective. It's all about digging into your past, focused on a will to pleasure. You lie on a couch, you talk about the past. Logotherapy, on the other hand, is future-focused. It's all about your will to meaning. You sit up, you face your therapist, and you're challenged to find a purpose to live for.
Frankl often borrowed a line from Nietzsche because he felt it perfectly captured the spirit of logotherapy. He who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how. It's so simple, right? If your reason for living is strong enough, you can get through almost anything.
Okay, but how do you actually find this why? Frankl lays out three main paths, and they're accessible to every single one of us. First, you can find meaning by doing a deed.
Creating something, getting a job done. Second, by encountering someone, experiencing beauty in nature or art, or most powerfully, by loving another person. And third, and this is the most radical one, by the attitude we choose to take towards suffering we cannot avoid.
And to really understand that third path, Frankl tells this incredible story. An old, very depressed doctor came to him just completely shattered by the death of his wife. Frankl didn't give him cheap platitudes. He just asked him a simple question. "Doctor, what would have happened if you had died first and she had been the one left behind?" And in that instant, the doctor saw it. His awful, crushing grief suddenly had a purpose. It was the price he was paying to spare the woman he loved from having to feel that exact same pain.
And that one story perfectly illustrates this powerful conclusion. Suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice. The pain didn't go away. The loss was still there. But by reframing it as a noble sacrifice, his unchangeable fate was transformed. His suffering now had a point.
So this power, this ability to reframe our own story, it brings us to Frankl's final and most important challenge. It's about the incredible choice we all have, and the massive responsibility that comes right along with it. Now, Frankl wasn't some Pollyanna telling you to just be happy all the time. He believed in what he called tragic optimism. It's about saying yes to life even though you know it includes pain, guilt, and death. It's this uniquely human ability to turn suffering into an achievement, to see guilt not as a dead end, but as a chance to become better, and to realize that because life is short, we have a duty to act responsibly right here, right now.
And he had this amazing image to drive the point home. He'd say that the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast is wonderful, but it's only half the story. To be complete, it should be balanced by a statue of responsibility on the West Coast, because freedom, he said, is pointless on its own. Meaning doesn't come from being free from things. It comes from taking responsibility for something. And this all leads to Frankl's final, mind-bending challenge to us. He completely flips the script. He says we have to stop asking, what is the meaning of my life? Instead, we have to realize that life is asking us that question. Every single day, every single hour, life is looking at you and asking, so, what answer will you give?